This week on the Dirthead Shed, it's time to get the purple Jeep into the shop and get busy on this thing. Matt's off-road games are coming up quick and I have a ton of work to do. Let's see if we can keep it running for a minute. I'm gonna sit here and let it warm up for a minute and then we'll hit the road. I wonder where this car even came from. If this was always an LA car or if it was a SoCal car forever. I have no idea if this thing's ever been to Northeast Washington before last week. We may never know. I don't think they do Carfax on stuff like this. Sure is fun. My hand sure is cold. I made it. There we go. Let's see if Matt needs this thing. All right, here it is, Matt.
All right, what are we looking at?
You're a total custom car guy.
Yeah. Dude, look at this thing.
Right out of the gate, what do you think?
Okay, it's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
It's
From
cool.
From certain angles, it's great. From certain angles, it's garbage.
From 50 feet away, it's pretty good. Oh wait, where's the windows?
That part doesn't matter. I have never. It's been a long time since I've cruised something around that got the reaction from people this does.
Dude, I love this thing. Thing's so cool.
It's good.
Yeah, windows are optional. It's a summer car.
It is a summer car.
Yeah.
All right, Matt and I are gonna hash out some stuff, and then. I gotta park this thing, go over there and grab the purple Jeep, and then we're gonna head back to my place.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll...
And we're gonna transfer a title, I guess, too.
Hopefully you'll see Matt driving this thing here pretty soon. All right, Matt's instantly a custom car guy. Yep. I think the deal, though, is that I get to go cruising with you.
Okay.
And I get to document the modifications that you do to it. Because the viewers are gonna wanna see this thing, evolve.
Well,
and it's going to be fun getting to see you start practicing more bodywork and stuff, because you're the right guy for this job, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got me into rock crawling, then you got me into lowriders, and then
now you're into customs.
Now I'm into customs, yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it'll be good.
I'm going to unload my junk out. We'll go load up the Jeep and get that thing out of your way.
Cool.
That's pretty neat. Matt's all excited about this thing. So, kind of neat. It'll be fun getting to help continue to modify that and getting to watch it make progress. We'll see. Hopefully he enjoys it. It's not for everybody, but I think he'll dig it. It's time to load the old purple Jeep up, though. Holy cow, this is bright. This is way brighter than I remember it being. Wow, that is purple as heck. Dang. I have a lot of work ahead of me. That's the problem. Out of sight, out of mind. This thing's been out of my hair since I got it, and now I'm like, oh dang, what did I sign up for? Here we go. It's good to finally get this thing in the shop. Time to dig around. Time to dig around and see how to get the key out of the ignition. Yeah, whatever. It's a cool little thing. Come on, Matt, we got work to do. Purple Jeep's in here and it's already leaking on the floor and doing its thing, so I guess it's a permanent structure in the shop. It is time to figure out what I'm really doing to it. The challenge or the event is the Matt's Off-Road Games, and I'm part of this Jalopy Jeep Challenge, which means I've got a certain parameter of like money that I can spend and parts that I can like have on it. So it's got to be coil sprung, which the TJ checks that box. It's got to have no bigger than 33-inch tires, which I've got that under control. I've got a cool set of wheels and tires for this. It's what are the other things? It's got to be open top, and it's got to have a roll cage, which Jeep is perfect for the open top and roll cage. The other thing that I can't be is more than $5,000, and I picked this one up for, I believe it was $1,800, which is really cheap for a TJ, but it didn't really run very good, and I can't tell if it needs a transmission or not. So I think what we're gonna do is probably not tear it totally apart yet, and see if we can figure out how to get the running properly under control first. So I want to pop the hood, go in there and see what we got. It's a 2.5 liter fuel injected 4-cylinder, which in my mind is a really good little motor. I've never owned one though, so I don't know if this thing's going to be a totally underpowered dog or not. We'll also dig into the axles. I need to be able to run an 8 rated trail, so this thing's going to have lockers in it. And I don't know if it does or not. So I guess we're all learning on this. That's what happens when you buy a really cheap Jeep that's already in project form. You got to kind of do a bunch of diagnostic stuff and figure out what you really bought. All I know is it's got really bright purple paint that's all splattery and weird. Since Matt bought my ride down to his shop, he had to come back and I'm putting him to work. So we're gonna play Jeeps today. It's Sunday. Might as well get a little bit done, right? What happens when you buy an old mud truck Jeep? You find all the problems. We've got extremely loose ball joints on this side. I guess I'm gonna need to get a piece of cardboard this big because the list is gonna be gnarly. Apparently we're putting ball joints on it too. Dang it. It's time to start figuring this thing out, I guess. I know we probably need to look at everything on here, but I feel like front axle's probably first. Figure out what parts I might need to buy. I'm gonna be working all week, so if I need to like be running around buying ball joints and stuff, I wanna at least be able to do that stuff on my lunch break, you know? So I guess we'll pull wheels, we'll check brakes, we'll see what's up with steering, and figure out kind of what's going on here. What the heck did I buy? This one doesn't move at all either. Oh, I bet you he was saying the guy that I bought it from had like 16 or 17-inch wheels on it. And he was like, I had to add washers or something because the wheels were dragging. I don't know. So maybe we're about to find out what's going on.
When did they start making purple tires?
They've been forever, man. You've never had purple tires? No. Rookie. I want to rotate and just see what's hanging up here real quick. Oh my gosh. Why are the calipers just squeezed so tight right now? So let's pop the calipers off and let them hang, and then that'll kind of at least take that out of the equation. I think these are 13 mil. You go and buy something like this, it's obviously a project. To me, it looks like this thing was once like an old mud bog Jeep. So you're gonna end up with a bunch of parts that are kind of either broken or cobbled or packed with mud or whatever. And you gotta kind of get in there and just kind of see what you bought. Oh, there we go. Now it's spinning. All right, if I'm keeping this thing budget, I'm gonna have to sell stuff. So we're gonna have a sell list, and we're gonna have a buy and a fix list. We need ball joints, we know that. And on the sell list, I know I get a set of worn out 31s on some black steel wheels for sale. I've also, this thing came with a set of plastic like dune buggy seats. I want to get rid of those things. I wonder if this thing's going to end up being a cool Jeep. My daughter believes it's hers. All her friends already know she has a Jeep apparently. And she's been trying to pick colors for it to paint it.
Purple.
I don't know that it's going to stay purple.
The paint they used on this is interesting.
It's like an oil-based house paint or something. Or like propane tank paint.
Whatever they use is super sticky because it's everywhere.
He shot it out of an undercoating gun or something so that it would have this like Raptor liner look. So there's going to be a lot of undoing to do. Ain't nothing to it but to undo it. That's what they say. Man, I probably should have been starting on this thing months ago.
I think you should have.
It is. There it goes.
Got her.
All right, we're gonna pop the diff cover off this thing and see what kind of gears we've got in here. Oh, brand new. That's either really good or really bad. That's just a basic open diff right there. We'll go ahead and roll it around until we find the numbers on the gear, and we'll count the teeth, or we'll figure out what it says. What's that say? 445? No, there's the numbers.
Yeah.
So,
30.
what's it say? What's it say?
Let's see it. 488.
488s. All right, so we got 488s in this thing, which that's pretty low. This thing would have come with 410 stock since it's a 4-cylinder. 456s and 33s are kind of a good combo. 488s, this thing's going to be kind of screaming going down the road, but it's a 4-cylinder, so it should be able to handle that. I've got to kind of figure out what I'm going to do for a, well, first I want to make sure that the gear setup is pretty good, which it looks like it is. And then I want to figure out what locker I want to run, because open diff in the front of this, going out to Sand Hollow for this off-road games is going to be kind of rough. All right, we kind of jumped the gun, but we're finding out what problems it has and what parts I need to order. I think right now we're going to throw the front axle back together and put wheels and tires on it and go run it around the neighborhood. I want to find out if this transmission has big issues or not. When we were pulling it onto the truck or onto the trailer originally, it was struggling really hard, and I don't know if it was low on tranny fluid, if the brakes were hanging like crazy, or what the real issue was. But I feel like we at least need to run this around the neighborhood, see if it gets 3 gears, and if it does, then we can bring it back in, tear it all back down, and really start this process. This was sort of like a quick see what is broken in certain spots, but we really need to find out if the transmission or if the engine has issues, because those are going to take time and money to fix. This stuff, like brakes, is pretty easy. Hood shut. There's oil in the front diff. Everything else is the way it was when I got it, so I guess we'll go see if it runs down the road. Throw that in park. Should start. Right out of the gate, it feels better without the brakes hanging up. The steering is really heavy. I don't know if we've got this issue with the steering box or what, but we'll deal with that later. It feels kind of like there's no fluid at all. All right, Jalopy Jeep living up to its name. Oh, the steering is terrible. All right, the steering's terrible. We got 3 gears. It shifted first, second, third. It's got reverse, so I feel like there's no catastrophic failure in the transmission department. If we do a pan gasket and filter and a new pan, this one's smashed, that thing will probably come back to life. I want to make sure I've got a good cooler on it, because wheeling, I'm going to be kind of stressing it out. We'll go through the power steering and figure that out as well. But all in all, I think that was a success. The other thing, check this out. We ran over to my buddy Richard's house. You've seen him on the channel, and he's got a small block Chevy for Matt going in the Plymouth.
Big
so,
score. Big
yeah,
score.
big score. All right, we're gonna kind of clean up and regroup, and Cameron's gonna come out. He's gonna shoot some of the parts and stuff that we got coming for this, and yeah, then it's get busy time. We're gonna go ahead and pop this pan off of here. We're kind of jumping around back and forth, but I kind of need to figure out like what the real problems are in the rig so that we know the order of operations to fix it all. We need to get this pan off so we know why the transfer case isn't shifting. I need to figure out some measurements for the rear drive shaft because we got to ditch the square tube drive shaft it's got. That belly pan is hammered. I wonder what this Jeep used to do. If it was a mud truck, I mean, it's obvious.
It has like...
All this is damage from rock crawling.
Well, and there's rock sliders all over it. Like, they cut the rock sliders off.
Yeah. Make sure we keep the spacers. I got like a flat belly pan for this thing, but I don't know if I can actually use it as a flat belly pan. I might have to space it down that inch. There we go.
What's this?
Exhaust hanger. There's the shifter problem. That's cool. Sometimes I underestimate what I'm tackling. Definitely a big project here.
Well, what do you think? Unbolt the drive shaft, get that out of the way?
Yeah, the drive shaft's definitely got to come out, and then I can at least figure out what parts I need to get going for a new one. And then we need to figure out the shift linkage. Probably need to... Training mount's pretty trashed. I should probably look into one of those.
What runs through this?
Exhaust hanger.
Oh.
Matt's under there pulling the drive shaft out. I gotta show you this. So this is, I just kind of glazed over the fact that it's square tube drive shaft. Basically, it is what you think it is, and you get two pieces of square tubing that one can telescope into the other one. And they kind of work for rock crawling, but check this out. The amount of slop that they get definitely isn't good for like driving this thing down the road. Pretty wild. They spent money like on the slip yoke eliminator, but the they like did not do anything with some of the other parts. It's crazy. This is what you get when you buy a Jalopy Jeep, cheapest one on the market, which means you get to fix a bunch of junk. This has a Ford 8.8 out of a Ford Explorer as far as I can tell. So we'll go ahead and pop the diff cover off, see if it's got a matching gear ratio to the front, see what it's got for a locker, see if it's got any major problems. There's other things that are problems, like these shocks that are just hammered, and but other than that, I think we're kind of good to go. It's actually already got like a decent truss kit welded on here, and I believe that's all part of the kit you would have bought to swap an 8.8 into a TJ. Let's see if this thing's good or garbage. If all goes as planned, it has a limited slip and it has 488 gears.
Ready for the big reveal?
Yep, let's see it. It is still limited slip. You can see the clutch packs over here. These use like a heavy spring and a clutch pack. And then we go over here. We go over here and we can look right on the ring gear and you see a number 488 right there. So it actually has been re-geared properly. And that's pretty cool. How's the pattern look from your side, Matt?
No, it looks pretty decent. Yeah, nothing's a knife edge. Looks like it's wearing really good, actually.
The limited slip is pretty weak. We're able to spin one side only pretty easily. So at minimum, we need to rebuild the limited slip. At maximum, we just get rid of it altogether and put a different style locker in it. Cool, at least it's not garbage. That's a win. It's a week later. We're getting way closer and closer to the Matt's off-road games. and I got to get cranking on this Jeep and get this thing done. I heard that Onyx Offroad is now a sponsor on the Matt's Offroad games, which is cool. They're going to have maps of the whole area out there at Sand Hollow. So I'm sure they already have like trail difficulty levels and like descriptions of trails, but it's just cool to hear that that company, which is just a huge supporter of the off-road industry, is actually getting on board with the Matt's Off-Road games as well. So cheers to that. Hopefully when this thing is done and we have it back after the off-road games, we can go hit some trails and find some cool stuff around my area, because I haven't really explored enough, and having that app to where you can find out who owns properties and like how difficult trails are and just sort of find your way around. It should work really well. This should be a perfect Jeep for it. It's not going to be over the top built, and it'll make fire roads and backcountry exploring fun again. So go check out the Onyx Off-Road app if you haven't. I think I have a discount code, but I haven't been very good at doing any of that that ambassador type stuff. So just go check it out. Follow along on their socials. There's always really good sales going on. In the meantime, I'm going to actually throw some turn downs on the mufflers for the butter Jeep, because I want to say that is done so that I can get all the jack stands and stuff out from under it. And then we'll get back on this. All right, let's throw some turn downs on this. You can see this muffler doesn't have a hanger on it yet, and it's pretty far away from the factory hanger. So if I throw a little turn down on here, it'll give me something to attach to easily. The other side has a hanger mounted already, so that one's good to go. It'll just get a turn down for the sake of having a turn down. This one I really need to do so that this thing's not just flopping around anymore. Let's keep it kind of simple, and we'll just do a basic turn down. Not a huge fan of these because they just blow dirt around on the ground, but I don't have the time or energy to get the exhaust up and over the four-link and around the airbags and out the back next to the gas tank yet. Maybe another day. That one should be perfect on the driver's side. We'll get it kind of kicking down and out. At ride height, it should be about even with the center of the diff. So it should be like blowing down and out, not really heating up the diff. I like it. Let's get this one tacked in, and then we can kind of match the second one to it. My TIG welding is pretty subpar today. Man, these simple things are very challenging with the TIG welder. Stuck the tungsten. Just something as simple as tacking an exhaust hanger on in the vehicle is 10 times harder than it is with the MIG machine. There we go. The second pass, that one's looking okay. Let's cool that thing down before it melts the bushing or the hanger. All right, I'm gonna put the stands away and the welder back, and then it's time to go get busy on Purple Jeep. That's the one that we're here to work on. This was kind of a time suck, but oh well. I feel like when the time comes to fire up this engine, I'm gonna wanna just fire it up and not worry about stuff like that. So, it'll all be good in the long run. Let's go get back on this and see where we left off though. So noisy. We're gonna end up having to build this right where it's at since Butter Jeep's on the lift, so we might as well throw it up on tall jack stands and start tearing suspension out. See what we're actually doing here. front wheels just kind of flopped around once I got them off the ground. This thing's gonna be some work. Jeeps. This one had a hard life. Jeeps. All the wheels are gonna come off of this thing. I need to get these posted up on Marketplace and try and sell them. The wheels are actually pretty good, like 15 by 8. Just black steelies from Unique, I guess these are. Same as most of them out there. This should be pretty fun. Pretty fun. It's a cool starting point. It's very purple. All right, we're back out here Sunday morning. I didn't get nearly enough done yesterday, so kind of got to double down and just hammer through some stuff. Suspension's got to come out of it today. I've got to cycle some axles and get drive shafts on order. Tomorrow's Monday, and I've only got like a week and a half after that before we're on the road down to Sand Hollow for that Matt's Off-Road Games. The first order is going to be getting these springs and shocks out. Obviously, it's lifted, but it's not really lifted very properly. This thing has a spacer on top of the spring that is actually welded to the spring. That's a pretty big no-no. You don't weld the spring steel because it's like a hardened steel, and it'll end up cracking probably right next to where your weld is, or sometimes just breaking that whole chunk off. Somehow this survived. Somehow things like this work for people other than me. But if I tried that, I guarantee you it would break right away. Then we've also got here some spacers made out of, that looks like an old pipe thread nipple. We got some spacers on the shocks. That's kind of how they got their lift kit out of this deal. So we're gonna pull springs and shocks out. That way we can cycle this suspension and kind of see how everything travels without having to fight the coil springs. Let's get that out and then we'll move to the rear. If you're pulling the suspension apart on one of these things and you're having to really reef on the spring to get it out, just go ahead and take more stuff apart. Like pop the track bar out. That'll give you a little bit more droop. And on this one, I actually had to pull the bolts out of that lower link as well, because the link was crashing hard into the shock mount here. So rather than fighting everything and hurting yourself by popping that spring out of there under a bunch of pressure, just go ahead and disassemble a little more than you think you might need to. It always ends up working out in the end. And on this thing, I actually have a few little tricks I'm going to do to those items so that we can get some proper travel and geometry out of it later. All right, I'm tired of that noise. Okay, get that thing out of there. Now the spring should be able to come out without trying to kill me. Yeah, there we go. Yay. All right, I wanted to show you what we ended up going with for a lift kit. I ended up going with a 2.5-inch kit from Skyjacker, just a pretty basic one, but they're a 2.5-inch lift coil that are dual rate, so they should give a really good ride. I've never run these rear coils, but I actually run these same front ones in the Butter Jeep. I kept the budget pretty low by going with the Black Max shocks. These are sort of like, they're not the bottom of the line ones, but they're definitely a fairly inexpensive option that should work really well. I did an upgrade to go with new lower links, but I kept it sort of budget by going with the stock style bushings on the end. These things should be plenty strong, allow for enough flex and movement, and then not squeak around and stuff like that. So that lift kit altogether should be a good sort of budget kit, put together with some thought so the thing actually rides and drives really well. There we go. I've got all the link bars out of there. Check this thing out. That was one of the uppers. These are basically just like 16 gauge stamped sheet metal, and this one is the good one out of the two, and it's all bent The bad one out of the two is folded in half, basically. Both of them, the bushings are loose and flopping around in. So those are junk. Those are junk. I want to climb under here and see what my real game plan is. I'm not sold on just replacing them yet. I'm going to go ahead and commit and say we're 3-linking the front of this. Let's go ahead and cut this bracket off, cut some of the extra stuff off of this axle that's not going to be needed, and we can, I'll show you guys how to 3-link the front of a TJ or a Cherokee, and hopefully it goes pretty quick. We'll see. It's getting real now. It's been too long since I used this thing. Let me grab my glasses and gloves. All right, let's get rid of this passenger side upper link mount. I'm also out here cutting off a bunch of old tubes that were welded on the frame from old rock sliders that are long since gone. Probably don't have to do this, but I want to do it. 'Cause I don't like junk. Turn off, darn it. The little Jeep is coming along. It's kind of getting farther apart at the same time, but what can you do? I put some good hours into this thing this week. It's the Jalopy Jeep Challenge. If this isn't the most built Jeep when I show up to the Matt's Off-Road games, that's kind of okay. I want to show up with a good working, simple little Jeep, and I feel like this is going to be it. I've got a ton of work to do next week, but right now I got to get inside. I got to get some sleep. I'm working this week, at least part of it. I'm going to try and take like Thursday, Friday off. So keep watching. This Jeep is going to come along pretty quick over the next week, and hopefully if some of you guys are out at the Matt's Off-Road Recovery Off-Road Games, I'll see you out there. I'm going to have a mountain of shirts. I'm going to have a mountain of stickers, and I'm going to be out there in this little purple Jeep having a good time. We'll catch you guys next time.